Bastard Munchen vs PXG match is finally over.
It took over a year, but we have reached the promised lands.
NESS and Isagi's chemical reaction created the game-winning goal, thus making Isagi the game's hero.
And on top of that, Bastard Munchen will officially be crowned champions of the Neo Egoist League.
The whole Neo Egoist League arc has been an incredible journey, but that being said, we all know this match wasn't perfect.
We'll be discussing the end of the Bastard Munchen vs PXG match, as well as our overall thoughts about what this ending could mean for the story of Blue Lock.
Let's jump straight into the final goal because this is what we've been waiting for so long. Chapter 293 starts with the ball falling to NESS. He is completely unmarked and you can see the luck piece. His eyes are brimming with excitement and it's clear that this is going to be his big moment.
Once NESS gets the ball, he is driven by his new sense of hunger. NESS is determined to become a new version of himself and create new magic on the field. He has returned to zero and found his sense of originality.
From here, NESS sends a killer pass and honestly, props to NESS because this looks like one of the deadliest and craziest passes I've seen in the series. He is motivated to challenge Kaiser and make him change into a new emperor, fitting to his desire. This is the first time we're seeing NESS step up for himself and he's using this as an attempt to find his new king.
And this really was a great pass. I mean, the ball just cuts through the PXG defense and we see a shadow of a player and it looks like Kaiser, but this actually turns out to be a fake out.
The real player emerging out of the shadows is Isagi Yoichi, and we can see he successfully broke free from Rin, and this completely breaks NESS's mind. At this moment, NESS becomes a tool for Isagi's victory. Completely unmarked, Isagi then goes into 1v1 against PXG's keeper. He instantly smashes the ball, sending it flying into the back of the net, sealing the victory for Bastard Munchen 3-2, ending the chapter with a cold knee slide and a victory roar, and honestly, this is one of the greatest celebrations in the whole arc.
Gotta agree with you there. This was a great way to end the match. Honestly, we're just so happy this match is finally done. Not saying it was a bad match, but it kind of dragged for some time now.
It definitely dragged, but I'm glad that we finally got this goal because I do consider this goal to be one of Isagi's best goals. One of the biggest reasons why I say this is because Isagi perfectly utilized the new puzzle piece fastest and the luck piece. Isagi was able to completely read the field and predict NESS's awakening faster than anybody else, even before Kaiser, who was supposed to get that pass from NESS.
While Kaiser was entirely focused on scoring, expecting a perfectly tuned pass or his Kaiser impact, NESS instead delivered a challenge to Kaiser and he sent this complicated and unsuitable pass that would require Kaiser to evolve and adjust to NESS in order to execute it.
Kaiser had grown too accustomed to NESS tailoring passes that perfectly suit his playing style, but this time, NESS's pass reflected his own awakening, something that Kaiser failed to anticipate.
On the other hand, Isagi believed in NESS changing and trying to be a better version of himself. This kind of pass was just one of many possibilities he had considered for an awakened NESS.
Another reason why I think this could also be one of Isagi's greatest goals is because of the pure impact. This goal gave birth to the Neo Egoist, the Demon King Isagi Yoichi, an egoist known to use despair and hope to his advantage.
It's also important to note that Isagi noticed NESS's descent into despair earlier in the match. He went even further and formed a contract with Kaiser. This hurled NESS into a deeper sense of despair. He knew Kaiser partnering up with someone else would drive NESS towards rock bottom. Isagi used this to his advantage and he forced an awakening out of NESS.
It's as if Isagi has reached a new level where he not only adapts but creates some of the situations so he can adapt to later, because we've seen throughout this match, Isagi's been doing this with players like Kaiser, Rin, and we even see other characters like Yukimiya and Yuri notice that Isagi is the one always dictating the pace of the game.
This goal actually does remind me of his game winner in the U20 match, where Isagi read Rin's flow and awakening to score the final goal. Back then, even Sai said to Rin after the match, he was able to bring out even your instincts. That's exactly what happened here.
He was living and acting upon a future that no one else could catch up to. Isagi is truly on another world and he's becoming closer to that omnipotent, godlike player that he's been destined to be. On top of devouring NESS, Isagi even devoured Kaiser at the same time. Rin said it best, he's more like a demon king disguised as a hero because he just forces everyone to improve and increase their egos just so he can use them and devour them and adapt and create a better goal just so he can take all the glory for himself. A true villain.
Yeah, this goal finalized Isagi's transformation and solidified himself as the villain of these other players' stories. But let's talk about what it means in the grand scheme of the story.
Well, let's start off with the most obvious. Isagi is a Neo Egoist like we stated, and he's definitely going to be the #1 player in Blue Lock, and I'd say this was a man of a match type performance.
Oh, easily. As you said, he's definitely going to be #1 in Blue Lock once the results come in, but I guess let's talk about where we think his final salary ranking will be. We did do a video on this, and we were shooting for 300 million yen. Where do you think Isagi's final offer will land?
This is a tough one because Isagi did a lot in this match. His link up with Kaiser was outstanding, and honestly, those two were unstoppable once they started working together. Loki, maybe the best duo in the whole NEL and maybe Blue Lock right now. I think Isagi could potentially be 250, but I feel like he should be a little bit more.
I can agree with you there, and I think a lot of these clubs are taking notice to Isagi's potential and what he does to the players around him, and I think any club witnessing that is going to want to have someone like that on their team.
Which professional club do you think Isagi will join?
Isagi might find himself in Berserk Dortmund. This was the first club that gave Isagi an offer. It's the lowest offer, but this club just so happens to be the rivals of Bastard Munchen. If Isagi goes to Berserk, then he will get more chances to play against Noah if he wishes to go down that route.
I like the idea of Isagi going to Berserk Dortmund, but I don't know how realistic that is because it's been Bastard Munchen actually giving them a lot of offers, which I actually think is the more realistic choice because we've seen Bastard Munchen make multiple offers for Isagi throughout the NEL, and honestly, I'm expecting Bastard Munchen to go all in on acquiring Isagi. Plus, if Kaiser does leave Bastard Munchen to join Real, I could easily see them trying to acquire Isagi as his potential replacement.
That does sound realistic. Plus, if Isagi is interested in playing for Bastard Munchen, then he could use this as an opportunity to observe Noah. Isagi could further pursue his plans into becoming closer to Noah's standards.
That's not completely out of the question. Isagi has definitely shown interest in analyzing and defeating Noah. He is moving in the right direction by successfully using Kaiser as a template and devouring his skills to grow as a player. Because let's remember, Isagi did say if he could devour Kaiser, then he'd be one step closer to devouring Noah.
That is true, and honestly, who knows? Maybe another big club like PXG or Real bid for Isagi after witnessing his recent performance.
Honestly, that's not crazy to say because a lot of people might be seeing Isagi as a potential new Gen 11 level player. Isagi has been living up to his initial challenges to Kaiser, and it's not even crazy to say that he might have surpassed him.
Isagi is definitely a real threat now, and Kaiser might not like him, but he fully acknowledges Isagi's abilities. I would also like to point out that every new Gen 11 player has shown his respect for Isagi's game. Isagi deserves some high-level publicity after his recent performance. There might even be a new classification for these top-level players participating in the NEL.
Honestly, I feel like that would make more sense, and it would just be cool to see because we know Isagi is becoming closer to that world-class level. Rin is clearly on that level as well. He dropped crazy performance in this match.
Speaking of Rin, he must be furious. Isagi beat him in a 1v1 and scored the game-winning goal. Remember, his whole goal was to crush Isagi, and in the end, he failed to accomplish that.
His whole challenge to himself was to beat Isagi, and he did complete that a little bit because he did return to zero. He understood his original ego and his destroyer state, which allowed him to beat Isagi in that moment. But in the end, it just wasn't enough because Isagi continued to adapt and evolve, and he rose up to the challenge and surpassed Rin's expectations again.
And on top of that, after scoring the game winner, it's clear that Isagi secured the #1 spot in the Japan U20 team. That #1 spot should also mean he will start in the striker position for the team.
Which is crazy because that means Rin is losing his grip and he's no longer the top player in Bulak. I'm expecting this loss to really pick at Rin, and he's going to use his failure to fuel his ego. So I think Rin is going to come back even stronger and look to crush Isagi again.
At this point, Rin, I think it's time to lock in and just go into the hyperbolic time chamber and come out with a perfected destroyer state.
Another thing I want to talk about is the Isagi and Kaiser rivalry because like we said, Isagi fulfilled his promise and he turned Kaiser into the Naked Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, Isagi used him as a template and stole his abilities. He took the Bastard Munchen team away from him and even his playmaker NESS. And I think this experience will push Kaiser even more, and the next time we see him, potentially in the U20 World Cup, he will be an even bigger threat.
Honestly, I hope Kaiser keeps that bid from Real because I would love for him to go to the Spanish league and try to become the Emperor of Real. He could play alongside Hitoshi Sai, and this could be his opportunity to come out hot and try to improve himself and gain another opportunity to beat Isagi. Plus, it was already clear that he didn't want to stay in Bastard Munchen. I know we kind of just wrapped up a lot about like the characters that played the big role in the ending, but I think it's now a good time to talk about overall in this match because there were a lot of things being introduced in this match.
Kaneshiro dumped a lot of things on us in this match. There was just so many new discoveries and concepts. Plus, there were many major elements like the Isagi versus Rin rivalry, Isagi versus Kaiser, Shido versus Kunigami rematch, which was underwhelming. Then you also have that mystery of Kiora, another new player in Charles. There was just a lot packed into this match.
I will say, starting off, the beginning and middle of this match was absolute cinema. The first chapter was the most hype back and forth start to an NEL match ever. We saw so many top quality 1v1s between every character, and right after this, the pacing still continued to be back and forth. We saw Rin cook the team, and then we see Hiyori block him and stop his shot, just for PXG to get the ball again, and Charles and Shido's chemical reaction completely destroyed the field, and they scored the first goal so early on in the game. I felt like we had a real match on our hands.
Throughout the entire match, from beginning to end, it was literally just back and forth. Two teams trading blows with each other, trying to come out on top. It felt like a heavyweight match, honestly.
I also really loved how, in this match, we saw so many characters accept their own fault. Players consistently got destroyed and had to rebuild themselves from scratch. We saw that with Kaiser, especially, which I think was one of the greatest moments in this match. Seeing Kaiser return to zero, seeing his backstory, his trauma, how he became who he he is, and then overcome all that just to score a banger and show Isagi that he wasn't gonna lay down and take a loss. I thought that was amazing because Isagi was already cooking in that match and he was already showing that he was gonna be the king of Bastard Munchen, but Kaiser was not willing to take this lightly, and he got one of the best redemption arcs, honestly.
To kind of piggyback on what you just said, I feel like that's kind of one of the great things about this match. While we were seeing the skill of the players evolve in real time, they also had to let go of many of their fixations and become better people and players. It was more than just skill, and I think that is a really interesting theme to add into this match as well.
This match definitely had a lot of great elements. I can continue and talk about that because even Rin awakening his potential, returning to zero, cooking the whole team by himself, that was insane. I felt like around this part in the match, this is when things started to get a little silly, not gonna lie. I thought Rin should probably just already score a goal, kind of absurd to me.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of weird absurdities like that in this match. And I think the funny part about this whole match is that the underwhelming component of it all was probably the star change, which was surprising.
Yeah, usually the star changes are the most hyped up moments in the match because before every other match, we've seen the Master Strikers come in and a goal was being scored. And the fact that this time it was Loki's first time coming in, and he didn't even play with Charles, which I thought was the biggest issue of the star changes because Loki was hyping up Charles ever since we seen the two of them both be on the screen together. And now we just see them never even interact once they're on the field, which is kind of absurd again. He just plays with Rin and then kind of just does fuck shit for the whole game.
Yeah, this one definitely had me scratching my head a little bit. They hyped up a lot of the Charles and Loki link up, and there just wasn't any of it in the star change. It was very confusing. For it to be Loki's first appearance in the NEL, I was expecting a little bit more of an intense matchup, but what we got is what we got. Maybe Kaneshiro is saving a little bit more of that for later on in the story.
I will say, the star changes weren't completely bad. The Master Strikers coming in did push the other players to improve themselves, and it set the stages for Isagi's next evolution, which I think is the most important part about this match and star changes.
I think going into this match after a while, you could kind of see that the story was leading towards Bastard Munchen winning it all. You look at PXG's team on paper, they seemed like the better team going into this whole thing, but then we got thrown this unexpected curveball of Charles just not linking with Rin at all. That was truly frustrating to see.
Charles just doing whatever he wanted to do, and also what happened to the other half of PXG's team? Besides Karasu, who was playing a big role throughout the match, Nanase only had a few moments, and then Zantetsu did a little bit at the end because Kaneshiro probably realized, oh, I need to let Zantetsu do some stuff so he can stay in the U20 team, but Tokimitsu did absolutely fucking nothing. Like, every time we see Tokimitsu, he was just getting cooked. I think he had maybe like one good pass this whole match, and then he was just getting cooked the rest of the game.
Truthfully, I do not understand it. PXG had such a great flow before this match on offense and defense, it seemed like. We got a nice glimpse of what they were capable of in the PXG versus FC Barca match, which led us to believe that this team was going to be credible. But for whatever reason, once they saw Bastard Munchen, once they saw Isagi, they just shut down and became a different team.
And I do understand that this is a different team that played against Barca because Shido and Rin played together in this game, but for Charles to suddenly have a weird asphyxiation with Shido right after the first goal, I thought was kind of weird because these two are supposed to be practicing together like every day pretty much, and they just started figuring out this partnership now. It didn't really make too much sense to me. Again, that seemed really forced because, like you said, in the Barca match, he was linking up with Rin. Rin was already the top goal scorer, so it seemed like they would just continue to play together, but it just didn't happen until Rin dropped Stir State and started bitching everyone. But Charles is a contrarian, so he can just do whatever the fuck he wants.
If you want to have Bastard Munchen win this match, that's completely fine. I'm okay with that. I'm pretty sure most of the fan base is okay with Bastard Munchen winning that. But can Bastard Munchen win against PXG when they have like an actual flow in their offense? Not like a troll that's completely disrupting it.
Honestly, my biggest gripe of this whole match was the Shido and Kunigami rematch. Overall, it was just super underwhelming. We both thought Kunigami would actually play a big role as a striker, but instead he just drops into the midfield and plays DM. I will give him credit, he dropped a masterclass performance on defense, he shut down Shido, and he did pick up an assist, so he wasn't a complete bum on offense. And honestly, throughout the NEL, Kunigami was pretty lackluster. Every goal that he had was thanks to Isagi, and he completely ghosted in the Ubers match. If he continued to play as a striker, he probably would have got ghosted in this game as well. He only played well because he was starting to guard up Shido.
I think we can also both agree that outside of a couple of gripes with this match, it overall was a pretty great match.
Besides us nitpicking a few things, which we're only doing because there are just so many elements in this match, which is a good thing, but we do need to point out there are some things that we felt were just a little bit unresolved. But overall, we love this match, and we're joking around now because it is over, finally, thankfully, but we're gonna really enjoy the next arc, which a lot of people have been looking forward to because it's the U20 World Cup arc. This is what we've been waiting for years, and I'm very excited to see what happens next for that arc.
I know we said probably at the beginning of the NEL that this was like the beginning of Blue Lock, but no, this is the beginning of Blue Lock right here. I'm telling you, things are about about to go to another level, and it's about to be really exciting.
Yeah, now it's the beginning. It's about to be a movie. But thank you for listening, because we wouldn't be here without you guys.
We appreciate you guys coming this far and listening to us rant a little bit about this match. It's been a ride, guys. It's been a ride over this past year, but the PXG versus Bastard Munchen match is finally over.
Let us know what you guys thought about the match. Let us know what you'd give it 1 through 10. Would you say it's the best match in the NEL? Do you think another match is? Please let us know in the comment section. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think.
And as always, if you did enjoy the video, please consider giving a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. And as always, we do have a link to our community Discord, and that link can be found in the description of this video below.
Thank you for sticking to the end. It's Tev.
And it's Lotus.
Peace.